Okay, so welcome everyone to the Masterclass 13, EdTech Implementation 101. So before I introduce our speaker, instructor today, I just want to thank you all for joining and or you watching, this YouTube link later on. So please, we have some announcement. It's coming up, and we have a Technology for Education conference. It's next month in November 23, 24, and 26. So please go to our ET Society website to learn more about the conference, and there are different workshops and the presentations. So I do encourage all of you to come and join this international conference. And so about EdTech Society, I just want to tell you, my name is Briju Tankachan. I am currently serving as the Executive Director of EdTech Society. So this is a non-profit organization to help educators, to be as part of the community, to help, the students learn better. So that's kind of the ultimate goal of this organization. So bringing together all the professionals, teachers, higher education faculty members, trainers, or the industry people, bring together, share their ideas, have an open forum so we can grow together. Great. So once again, thank you for all joining today. I just want to introduce our instructor for this masterclass, Dr. T.G. Lakshmi. So let me introduce her. She has more than total 18 years of experience in the different sectors, social sector, software industry development. And she also received the Future Digi Leader 2020 award from the Digital Futures. And we are so excited to have her for this masterclass. And she's also served on different program committees, reviewer, and currently head of the research with the Shikshaga Institute of Education in Mumbai. So you will hear more about her current role from herself in today's session. Without further ado, let me welcome Dr. T.J. Lakshmi for this Masterclass 13. Please take the time.
Thank you, Birju. Very kind of you to introduce me, and I feel very odd at the same time good to get introduced by a very known person. Thank you for that. Let's just dive in. I would just share my slide and hello everybody. Which you just said, now I work in the development sector. Currently I now head research at Shikha Institute of Education. This is a not-for-profit organization housed in an alternate school by name Shikha Academy, where we try to ignite the potential of kids who do not have resources and get them world-class facilities as well as world-class curriculum. So it is affiliated to the Cambridge IGCSE board, and it's in Borivali, Mumbai. So feel free. I mean, if you want to drop in to see the school, it's truly like one of the schools that we see in the future that we want to see more of for everybody, right? So there I had research. So when I say research, it means research in education, research of education, at the same time curriculum, pedagogy, educational technology, so all that. And that's about me. So let's just dive into what we are here for today, and that is EdTech Implementation 101. So So these are the session objectives that I have kept for myself, that at the end of this masterclass, the participants will be able to utilize guidelines for EdTech deployment and create seamless integration strategy for the EdTech deployment. So some of the assumptions that I did take while creating this presentation is that the participants would fall into the category, either they'll be a teacher or an instructor in an educational institute who want to deploy, let's say, an edtech product, or a leader of an educational institute who wants to jump into the edtech bandwagon and try to see if technology can help their educational institute, or a field implementation person, because there are so many edtech projects that are happening across the country. So some of the field implementation team members who would want to see how to get the product to the field, right? So these are some of the assumptions that I've kept as my target audience for this presentation. And general pointers throughout the session. I don't know how many people are watching or, part of this session, but I thought some pointers throughout the session is that please pose all questions. I mean, here you couldn't unmute, but yeah, you can put your questions in the chat, park them. I will, time to time, take a look at the questions, and you would have to participate, because if you do not participate and engage in this conversation, then it becomes very monotonous and it's just one way. And I would urge the participants and the audience to go beyond obvious answers. Like, if that's the first thing that comes to you, pause and think about it, right? Can you add more nuances? Can you add more details? That is something I want to do, because we want to learn together as a community. And there are certain slides, indicators to slides that I have given. Let's say the green banner, if you see across, it means that it's an activity. And if you see a violet one, it means that it's a guideline, right? So this is some of the participation, thumb rules, I would say. And then I have tried to provide examples, because I think in the examples ground them more. Otherwise, it becomes a very abstract talk of me telling certain models or certain guidelines. So this comes through a lot of reflection from the various projects I have done at the EdTech department in IIT Bombay, from where I did my PhD. Also where when I was there and doing my doctoral thesis, some of these have come in as reflections from while doing my doctoral thesis. For the last 3 years, or I've had field experience, and before that, I was it feels almost like another eternity that I was a software developer. So from there, the field experience from there. So those are actually marked as this yellow star that you see. So whenever you see a yellow star, it means I'm taking you through an example, right? So these are some of the general pointers. And let's just dive into the large scale EdTech project that I'm talking about. So, in this, what we had was, it was a multi stakeholder project. So, we were working with the head teachers, the school, the students, the parents, to create a digital ecosystem in schools, right? And you'd want to know, what do I mean by large scale? It is around 75 schools across Mumbai. They need to be digitally equipped. So there were tablets for students and teachers. There were digital classrooms in the schools. And these were affordable private schools, which means that they are not government schools, they are private, run by private trusts, but the students come from resource constrained homes, right? So there were around 20,000 students. When I mean large scale, this is a large scale that I've been through. 20,000 students, around 1,000 teachers, and 100 school leaders. So what was there as a part of this project? Let me just take you through. So when I mean by device, there were tablets provided, and the tablets had curated content. And so we designed and developed an app specifically for that curated content, and that is some of the examples that you will see that I will keep talking through this presentation. And when I say curated content, it means content that is specifically for their grade and according to the syllabus and according to the medium of instruction. So in Maharashtra, there's a very unique concept of, the state board is available in close to, I think, 7 to 8 languages. So which means that a child can go through the state board in Marathi medium, Hindi medium, Urdu medium, Gujarati medium, Tamil medium, and yeah, many more languages. I said seven. And there were some upskilling programs that were part of this project for the teachers, for the school leaders, for the students, and the parents. There was constant support that we were providing. When I mean by support, it means the tablets get the app doesn't work, the tablets are damaged, or how do I access this? The parent doesn't know what the child is doing. So these all these kind of questions were constantly like kind of answered, and we also had assessments from time to time. So this is what I mean by when I say so. The unique thing about this project was that it was multi-stakeholder. So you will come to know when I say what do I mean by multi-stakeholder, right? So this is what we did. So this is the large-scale project that I'll keep talking about as an example. So let's now ask the what question. What is EdTech implementation, right? So I just designed this activity, but I'm not really sure how many people are there. So if it is possible, what do I request everyone to go to menti.com, type 51369 376 and answer the question. Let me see if there are some people. Take some moments time. I think there are not many. Okay. So educational technology, when we say, has two words, education and technology. So when we say education, it's pretty much straightforward, right? There are learners, and the learners could be like anyone, different age groups, and they are coming to, you know, based on their interests, they're coming to learn something, right? But when we say technology, there is a little implicit understanding that most people have. Yes, technology means laptops or certain internet devices, mobile phones, smart board in the context of education. But there is another nuance here as well. There is technology of education. Because if you go and see the etymology of technology, it means application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes, right? So that is the etymology that you see on the right side of the screen. So it means both technology for education. It includes the hardware, the software that we all keep thinking about, but also includes the pedagogic processes, the orchestration, how is the space used, what are the organizational rules, how are the timetable kind of, organized in a school, how is the space, how is the seating arrangement, how does a teacher orchestrate, right? There are so many things. So there is technology of education as well. So that is something that I wanted to bring up upfront. What are the different examples? So this is from the web page of EdTech IIT Bombay. You see that there is mobile phone, there is virtual reality, there is sensor based, because sensors have become so cheap. There's a lot of devices now coming up with sensor based, so that is there. And then use of 3D structures, use of AR, use of EEGs to understand what happens at processes, when when a learner is learning using certain edtech tools, right, and use of a lot of making devices, manipulables, and these manipulables can be as simple as, blocks, Lego blocks, to as complex as your Lego Mindstorm, or like some of these robots that are coming up, right? Or could be learning environments that you see one of them as an examples. So these are the examples of different education technology. So I wanted to play this video which says what is the importance of education technology. This was something that was very much available in the Indian context, so I will let it play. This was by one of the well-known print media.
EdTech in India has grown phenomenally in the last couple of years, making India the EdTech capital of the world. There are around 10,000 EdTech startups in India. The private sector is playing a key role, with the public sector acting as a facilitator. EdTech unquestionably provides a wide range of benefits over more traditional forms of education. Let's have a look at them in greater depth in this video and discover how they are redefining our educational system. Educators, parents, and students have long complained about the one size fits all model of conventional schooling. EdTech provides specially tailored classes and access to content at a pace students are comfortable with. With EdTech helping students prepare for competitive exams, industry reports found that the success rate went up to about 7% as compared to under 1% through the conventional classroom mass teaching formats. EdTech provides access to education on demand. Students who were not compatible with the traditional school system's rigid timetables can get access to quality education. This is especially important in low income households, where children often help their parents with work or household chores during the day when schools usually hold classes. It also solves the problem of students from such homes not being able to afford a high quality conventional education by bridging gaps in teacher availability. The cost effectiveness of EdTech allows students to overcome the paywall between them and premium educators, and the virtual nature of this learning erases geographical constraints. Finally, when considering EdTech as a complement to traditional schooling, instead of a direct replacement, EdTech modules have an upper hand over traditional textbooks. Better navigation of resources, multimedia graphics, and interactive elements allow for a more engaging educational experience. This is not to say that EdTech programs don't have their own challenges and drawbacks. EdTech's growth is still dwarfed by inadequate infrastructure, poor accessibility, and our digital divide. Most recently, issues of misleading advertisements and unfair trade practices have come to light, which an EdTech consortium is working to eliminate through self regulation. Indian startups are assisting over 300 million school students. Of these, 40 million are students pursuing higher education whose studies were disrupted by COVID. This brought EdTech, which uses IT tools for inclusive, engaging, and personalized learning, to the fore. India's EdTech industry could slowly bridge the education quality gap between the rich and the poor, giving Indians from all backgrounds more equitable chances of success. Startups are expanding their global presence by collaborating with international universities or acquiring foreign firms. These businesses are venturing out because they believe they have good quality services, and global contracts provide them with wider visibility and access to capital in major markets like the US.
Yeah, so I was driving home the point that EdTech in India is poised to grow, and it is already one of the largest markets across the world, right? So that is
Yes.
something that
EdTech in India has grown phenomenally.
I wanted to kind of drive home the point, and let me just move to the next slide. So when we say implementation, what does it mean? It's taking a pedagogic strategy or a tool, because by now we have come to the understanding that edtech can mean both, which has proven its effectiveness and ready to be utilized by a large number of people, right? That is what it means as implementation. But sometimes I would want to say that we can't take this definition as is, because sometimes things are usually that there are pilots run, you want to do some user set testing, the alpha version of the products are available, and with startups increasingly we are seeing that they do MVPs, minimum viable products, and they test the market to see what is the response like. So they do a lot of the scrum and rapid prototyping to bring everything to the market as soon as possible. But with edtechs, you have to be really careful, because it is affecting the learners. The learners are we people, or it could be children, right? So a little bit of care is necessary, but this is usually the standard definition when we say edtech implementation, which means that it has proven its effectiveness and it's ready to be utilized by a large number of people. Why? Because you can't let anything that is being developed immediately bring it to the market, right? Does anyone else do it, let's say in a medical industry or in the pharma industry? Before a particular drug or a medicine is brought to people for consumption, it goes through a rigorous amount of testing, and there is a body that regulates such practices, right? Let it be, if I'm talking about the pharma industry or the food industry, right? So there are certain standards that you will have to adhere to, and testing that you'll have to adhere to. So before an ethic product is brought for people to use it, it needs to have found there needs to be impact that needs to be, and it needs to reach a large number of people, and the overall system changes as a result of that. This is ideal situation that I'm talking about, right? But we all know that this doesn't happen, right? So then what do we do? So when a edtech, interesting edtech product, now there is AI based products which are available, and you see that using this would get students or teachers leapfrog in terms of their abilities or skills. So how do we do such things, right? So that's the question. So that's when my first guideline comes, right? My first guideline is ask for certain edtech product evaluation or certification. They are coming up in the domain, right? Usually it needs to be a third party evaluation, right? So when an edtech product comes to you, the first thing you hear about the product, and if you find it's interesting, ask, have you done any third party evaluation, right? So they would retort back saying, oh, we have a white paper, but stay away from white papers. White papers are usually something that the company creates to market, right? So it hires, or it kind of hires certain researchers to say, hey, we want to create this white paper, can you create it for us? So they are hired for such purposes. So do not go for white papers, but usually look at third party evaluation, right? Internationally, there are a lot of organization. I think I did not mention that here. So IST is one organization which does evaluation of edtech products for pedagogic alignment. It has certain standards. So that is one. ESSA is a US based agency which has different tiers of evidence that it comes up with, impact evidence as it comes up with. UNESCO has certain ethical guidelines, and it sets up some ethics based guidelines that people have to adhere with. In India, we have Tulna, the EdTech Tulna, which is developed at IIT Bombay, so it's a systematic quality evaluation framework which people could use to make informed decisions, right? I also want to say that there is a lot of impact evaluation frameworks that are available. There is an international organization by name Digital Promise, which kind of certifies edtech products, right? So there are a lot of grants and grant making, agencies which also kind of evaluate an edtech product for its alignment, for its ethical practices, for the impact that they say it will create. So this is something that you will have to ask, right? So the next question is, Lakshmi, did you do it for the large scale edtech product, right? So let me go and say that what we did was, this was, so when we worked with this company, it was this company did not have a lot of experience in the edtech market. So they were only a content based company. So you have a lot of publishers, right, who have content these days. Some of the publishers that are available, like O'Reilly, and um, in India you have I just don't want to name them, but you have these publishers, right? So it was one of those companies. So they didn't have experience in edtech. So we realized that, and we said, okay, we can design the application, but what you would need to do is the e-content, which I say was a curated content. Can you get it verified from the government? So nowadays, the governments also have realized that there is a lot of e-content available. So they are setting up committees to certify the e-content, right? So if you say that an edtech product, we have content that is affiliated to CBSE, then you will have to go to a particular government body to verify that yes, it is actually the CBSE content that is available in this edtech product. Similarly, in Maharashtra, the SERT had e-Bal Bharti certification. So we went to that particular government body and asked for a certification. So they did a content validation, right? And one more thing, that this was important for the funder, because the funder was very keen that whatever we kind of work with the schools, it is very much in alignment with what the government wants. So this was something that they were also very happy about. So we did this, right, in the large scale electric product. So that is also one kind of a third party evaluation. But just understand what is the level of what is it evaluated for, right? In our case, it was a content, but there are different bodies which do it. Let's say, what is the impact that it does? So EdTech Tulna, as of now, evaluates the pedagogy, the technology usage, and the content. So all these three aspects. Impact, I'm not sure if any agency does, but the Digital Promise Agency does verify impacts. That is something that I want to talk about. Yeah. So, yeah. So we now, until now, what we were doing is seeing what is edtech, right? What is edtech implementation, right? But then the next question is how to do edtech implementation. So, like I said, okay, so I would want to take a 4C approach. I call it the 4C approach. So, that is something that I developed based on my I haven't written a paper yet, but I intend to do very quickly. So you begin by, let's say, number one, you begin by contextualizing. Because one important thing is to know your learner and also the various stakeholders. Then the next step is to co-design. I will also talk about guidelines for that. And then the third step is continuous and comprehensive check, or like you check and monitor. And the fourth one is communicate and collaborate. So there's a very iterative approach which you need to keep doing. So that is something that is the 4C approach. So let's start with contextualizing, which is knowing your learner. So the guideline is, you need to know who is your learner. What are the learner characteristics? What is a prerequisite? What are their surroundings looking like? The classroom, home. So you need to go and take a look at a couple of the schools that you are going to work with. Like, how does it look like? Like, for example, when I was going to one of the field visit, I remember my team member coming up to me and saying, Lakshmi, just check how far is the switchboard from the ground. Right? I was like thinking, why is he even asking me to check this? How does it have why are you asking me to check? I asked him. So he said, so we are working with kids whose height is very small. So you see some of the kids who come from low resource in India, or especially in Mumbai, tend to have their heights not as tall. So their heights are very average or below average. And the tablets that we wanted to see were like, sometimes the switchboard used to be very high up according to the teacher or the head teacher, right? So it's not accessible to them. At the same time, the tablets, these nowadays you see the chargers for the tablets are very small, right? So it would keep hanging, and so we would need something for that. So we should see that as well. So that was very interesting. So you'll have to go and see how their surroundings look like, the classroom, their home, how does it look like, right? And the issues and problems that they have. See, that is one thing that is very important. You can't just say, let's do an EdTech implementation. But EdTech implementation to solve what problem? What is the underlying issue that they have that you would want to write fix, right? That is a very golden rule. If it's ain't broken, don't fix it, right? So what is broken there? What are the needs of the learners, right? So that is something that, so in field research, there are various methods, right, to do this. There is an ethnography that you do, which means that you just become a fly on the wall and see how does a classroom function, what does a teacher do, what does the student do. You do qualitative interviews, there could be case studies, you do participant observation. In design research, there is a very important thing known as shadowing, right? You almost follow the person for the whole day or a couple of days in couple of days to see what is their daily life, right? And they design based on their daily life routine, right? So these are some of the methods that are available in field research. So these are research methods. And so my point is, I wanted to just pose this question to the audience. I don't know how many people are still watching. Yeah, okay, we have 3 people watching, right? So can you all think now with a large section? So I said there are 20,000 students, there are 1,000 teachers. How could a large scale project reach out to their stakeholders to gather pain points, especially? What is the problems that they have? Yeah. So if you could quickly type in your answers, uh, that would be interesting. By Birju, I can't hear you. I think you're trying to say something.
No, actually, if the comments are coming, I will post it on the slide itself, Lakshmi.
Okay.
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 Yeah, I
Thanks.
can post that one.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So I'll just wait here.
Can you post the question, make the slide bigger?
Yeah,
So,
I'll do that. Yeah. So I'll repeat the question maybe. So we were saying that there are so many methods that are available. You could do ethnography, you could do interviews, qualitative interviews, or you could do direct observation. You could shadow participants, because that is very popular method in design research, that they just follow to understand how does their daily routine life, right? But in a large scale project, that I was talking about, there are 20,000 learners and 1,000 teachers and 75 schools. How would you reach out to the stakeholders to gather their pain points? That is a question.
Yeah, so far we don't have any comments.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So I'll move on, right? So I thought typically people would answer, right? Yeah, it's difficult. Maybe you would put on a survey, you would create an online survey, and pass an email to the participants. I was thinking that these could be the some of the responses, right? But what happens in a survey is that people are not wanting to tell their pain points, right? So people are okay to talk about the feedback, and sometimes the participants themselves don't know what is the problem, right? It's very difficult to state problems. So that's why what we did in the large scale edtech project is we conducted focus group interviews. So focus group interviews is also one of the research method where you kind of bring similar participants. So we conducted like three focus groups. One is the students, teachers, and the school leaders. And we ensured that the participants in each of the focus group, like the three focus groups, were representative enough. Like we collected different schools from different localities with different medium of instruction, because we were also dealing with students in different medium of instruction, like I said, Marathi, Urdu, and Hindi, right? So we did that, and we asked a bunch of like questions and interviews to them, very thoughtfully thought out. It's not like you just have a conversation with somebody, right? It's not that. Before that, we kind of decided what are the questions that we need to ask them, and then it was a semi-structured interview, and then we analyzed the focus group interviews by empathy mapping to understand pain points. So it's also one of the research method. And what did we do as a result of that? Fine, you did all this, but what did it result in the edtech product? We designed specific features in the product to alleviate their pain points. Like one of the time that the teachers focus group, they were saying that, oh, I told you about this edtech product, right? It had a tab and it had an app, and the students could carry back the tab home. So the teachers often complain that, see, when the students are using this at home, the link between the student and teacher is getting broken, right? So usually when they're learning in school, there's a teacher present and the student is using, and they kind of orchestrate different groups in which they learn, and the student can immediately put up their hand and say, and the teacher comes in and answers. But what happens if it is at their home, right? So then what we decided was we will create a doubt box which a student can enter at home. If they're reading something, the student can go to the doubt box, ask this question to a particular teacher, and it goes back to the teacher as an email, and the teacher can answer this at some point in time. So this was something that we designed. So this is the way that you would design, right? What is the pain point, and design features for that. So this is something that we did in the large scale project. And Yeah, before I just go, I wanted to talk about the different methods here. So you could use focus group, use qualitative interviews, case studies, participant observations, but definitely do go and visit. It's very important to know who your learner is, who your stakeholder
Yeah.
is.
There was Lakshmi. There was a comment from the user. Conduct survey and with a small sample. So that
Yeah,
was another.
yeah, I expected that as an answer. So, so that's when I said surveys are not really the method to understand the pain points. So you would have to do any of those. like observations, go and sit with them, talk to them, do conduct interviews and focus group interviews, right? Yeah. So, um, it's very important to know who your learner is. So moving on, once you know who's your learner, what are their problems, what are the pain points they have, right? The next one is co-design. The next step is co-design. So what is co-design? Let's quickly go and see what is co-design. Co-design is something that actively involves all the stakeholders in the design and implementation of the edtech solution. So here you see a bunch of people sitting together who together design and implement the particular project, right? So it is one of the very important, nowadays, a very important design method. But let's go and see what is the key benefit of incorporating co-design in the implementation of edtech, right? So I had planned a Mentimeter quiz, but I'm just going to project the quiz so that we know what is the quiz and why is that the right answer. So yeah. So this question was posted that what is the key benefit of incorporating a co-design in the implementation of edtech? Does it reduce the cost of edtech solution? It speeds up the implementation process or improves user satisfaction and engagement, or does it minimize the need for teacher training? So I don't know if there are people there, but let's go through each of these, option. And definitely would not reduce the cost of edtech because you are involving a large group of people to sit together and design. It will take time, and time is not in not available for everybody because they have other things to do. So it actually increases the time to develop the product, which could impact the cost. So definitely does not reduce the cost, right? Does it speed the implementation process? Again, a big no-no because there are too many people involved, different stakeholders, they have their different priorities. So it does not speed up the implementation product. Now let's go to the last option, which is minimizes the need for teacher training. No. So this does not mean if you co-design, you would not need to be doing teacher training. Understand that only a few teachers would be part of the design process, right? Not all of your teachers. So you would have to do some amount of teacher capacity building or teacher training. But does it improve user satisfaction and engagement? Yes, because a particular stakeholder feels heard. A particular stakeholder has a stake in the design because it is something they have designed, right? And they know their problems, right? So it does lead to user satisfaction and engagement, and this is proven because it's one of the research method done. So usually they say that you co-design it with the stakeholders, right? So that's why the right answer that you see is the right so the reason for why this is the right answer is also available here because it's proven, it's based on research, right? So, when I say what do you mean by co-design, I'm just going to go through certain, guidelines. So, when you say co-design, but you co-design with stakeholders for what, right? Stake this co-design the pilots, right? Conduct small pilots. It's important before you do the whole let's say let's implement it, let's test it for the whole year. It will not work. Do semester wise or a 3 month or an after class. Take one grade, maybe, right, for a smaller time frame. So design pilots that are smaller in time frame. They consist of participants who are representative with certain defined objective, right? So that is something that is key. So you co-design with your participants smaller pilots. Okay. Then the next one is pertinency. You co-design for relevant problems. That is immediate, not something that will foresee, oh, okay, this will lead to this. No, this will solve an immediate problem that they are facing. Okay, so and that is something that I want to talk about. uh, I'll finish all the guidelines and take you through the large scale project example. Right, what do I mean by that? It becomes better that way. So then, after we move to from pertinency, the next one is inclusion. You have in the project, you include all the stakeholders, right, and identify the key influencers. I will talk about this guideline, and then also be flexible, right? It needs to be There needs to be some amount of adoption flexibility. Okay, so let me take you through examples because I'm just saying a bunch of words. So what we did before we did the large scale project is, I said 75 schools, right? We piloted with 20 schools for 3 months, right? And that is and when I say we piloted with 20 schools, we kind of chose a representative sample. We chose Urdu medium, Marathi medium, and Hindi medium in such a way, right? Only grade 10. Why grade 10? Because they had an immediate need. They had to improve their grade 10 marks, right? So even at home, if they have these devices and they have the application, it will improve the amount of content that they read, right? And with a defined objective that at the end of, let's say, the 3 months, we wanted them they have a mid-sem exam, and we wanted to see improvement in their scores, right? So the relevant problem that they had is that these were the COVID students. The last 2 years, eighth and ninth, was practically nothing really happened for them, right? So they needed, now they were at grade 10 and they were going to be tested only on their grade 10 content. So they needed a lot of, let's say, concepts to go back to. So that is something that was available to them, because in the class the teacher can only be teaching certain amount because she has a time frame. She has a lot of limitations. They have a lot of limitations. So they had content that they can go back to, right? That was a pertinent problem for them, the teachers as well as the students. And then when we come to inclusion, what we did was we realized that parents are a key influences of students at this point in time. They decide a lot of things for them, like their timetable at home, how much can they watch, what is their watch time, um, how much they need to be studying, how much can they use tabs, right? And so we included them as well in the program. Yes, parents were not initially part of the program, right? And then we included them as well. And we designed some digital literacy for them. They had a separate dashboard too where they can go and see the progress of their kids. So this kind of made them involved and this influenced the learners, right? And then the next one was an adoption flexibility. So it's not every time when you design a product, a tech product specifically, do not have one way of like using the features. Oh, we intended the user to use it this way, right? No, because the user will not usually use it the way it is intended to, right? The user wants some adoption flexibility. Like, for example, what we did was we had a lot of this content, right? There was so much content available. The teachers came up and told us that, see, important for us are these questions and answers that are there behind the books. We want the students to really practice, and we want a lot of practice papers. So that was included, right? We didn't really think, we thought, no, the teacher will have to use whatever is there in the textbook, play the video, pause the video. No, the teacher actually wanted a lot of practice to be done in the class. So this is something that we kind of included, and we need to have adoption flexibility. So along with the guideline, also I gave you the example, right? So then we move on to the next phase, the next part, the third C is continuous and comprehensive check. So here you need to be creating systems for continuous incoming data at different levels. Right? So in this, I kind of did it a little differently. What I did was I'm giving you the example that's happened, and then we will come to the guideline. So we knew this because we were a bunch of edtech people, so we knew that data is important. So all these people, the head teachers, the schools, the teachers, students, and parents, all had raw real time data available, and this includes the organization that I was with, like from the founder, the funder, the CEO, the project head, different data analysts in the project, all had access to the raw real time data available. It was all there, right? So we were looking at what the learner is clicking, how much time are they spending, how are they doing in the test, how is the score, how much time are they spending in each chapter. All of this is made available, right? So this was done, and we thought we were really good at doing this. So I'm just going to project another question because I thought this will be a question. So yeah, so I the question that I wanted to ask was, predict among the following which of the one likely would have happened. You saw that, right? We had thought of it through. Raw data was available to all real time, right? Everyone is happy that there is real time data flowing in, right? Was that what would have happened? Or everyone logs in to check the real time data. So it's not like they're only happy, but they check. They log in and they check the real time data. Everyone is unhappy because it does not suffice their data expectation. Or the senior leadership is unhappy because they don't want to see real time data, because sometimes some people don't want to see real time data and raw data. So what do you think among the four what is most likely to happen? So I don't know how many people are there, uh, but that's fine. Okay, I expected that people would say that, yeah, I think Lakshmi, you did a good job. You know, everyone would log in to check real time data. Everyone is happy that there is real time data flowing in. Okay, yeah, you are sorted. You did a good job there, right? But what actually happened, I think you already saw the answer, was that option 3 and 4. All were unhappy. We had every week reviews with the funder because there was a lot of money, right? Think 75 schools, 20,000 learners, tablets, devices, digital classrooms, a lot of money going in, right? So the funders wanted to know what was happening. We were saying real time data is available, but everyone is unhappy, the funder, the founder, CEO. And then we realized that people need data at various abstraction levels based on the objectives that they want to see, right? So then we realized, oh, we should have done IMIS, right? We should have realized that um, different profile of users would need different data, and that we didn't envision, right? So that led to, like, first 3 months it was completely chaotic. I was attending reviews on reviews every week with the directly with the funders of the organization. Okay, so that's unheard of in the development sector, right? So, what was missing was this MIS, like I said, the multiple information system for data at different levels, right? And there needs to be some amount of raw data no one is very happy to see, right? There needs to be some amount of processing that happens to show certain patterns. Like, is it usage? Is it student performance? What is it that we kind of want to do? There also we committed a blunder, right? After the 3 months, we realized this is what we did. So we said, okay, let's give a pattern. We said we will report the median usage per day, median usage of the learner. But then we realized something is that the industry benchmark was completely different. Other edtech products were talking about weekly active users, right? Their metrics that they were saying is weekly, what's the median active users, median usage, right? So this was across various, I don't want to name the edtech products, but like one of top five, I would say, edtech products were using this as a metric. So that is something we completely missed. We developed our own metric, but we did not look at um, um, the performance benchmark, right? So that is also there as a point at the last bullet is about that. Um, then it's important to have regular assessment, like establish a schedule. That was already there to track the progress. The next one is key, I think, and it's also there written. It's a key performance indicators at different phases of the project. So based on your objectives, if you define your project objectives, define what are the key performance indicators in that particular maturity of the project. So the maturity of the project, there are different maturities of the project, right? Like the pilot stage is one. After it is run for 3 4 years, it's at a different level of maturity. So the key performance indicators will be different. So it's important to define them and follow them and track them. Okay. So the other thing that was, I think, very important, and I think I would have to give it to the founder of the organization that I was working with. Regularly he used to ask, okay, what's the user feeling like? He used to go and visit the schools and just go and ask them, what is the user feedback, right? Are they heavy? Because remember, no one will come back and tell you their problems, right? You will have to seek them to ask them what's their problem. So collect user input to make improvements and address issues promptly. So we used to conduct automated voice surveys. So we used to have a questionnaire, and we used to call our parents and our students and our teachers. We used one of the automated voice survey services that was available, and we did this, right? So that's how we did, but I'm not saying that's the best method, but yeah, uh, I'm saying this is one of the ways that we did it. So yeah, so all these things are important. You will have to continuously and comprehensively keep checking and monitoring, right? Data is key in this case. So use data, make decisions based on data, because the next point that we will come to, yeah, before I go to the next point, also, I think there is a lot of what metrics to be used for edtech, right? So the only metric I think people keep thinking about is learning, right? What is improvement in performance? What's improvement in performance? But one thing that we kind of forget is learning happens at the end, right? First, your learners need to have interest in that. They need to develop interest. It needs to become part of their daily routine adoption, right? There are various cognitive gates or behavioral gates that they need to reach, they need to pass through until they reach the cognition level, right? So one of the metrics that I propose for edtech adoption is the adoption process that already product development people have kind of placed this, right? There the first level is awareness. How much of awareness is there? And second thing that you have to see, have they developed interest? Then are they using it? Are they evaluating it? Are they saying, oh, this is good, this works for me? And are they conducting, like, are they implementing it? Is it becoming part of their daily routine? And once you confirm it's been adopted, from then on, check what is their progress or their improvement, right? So this is also some one of the thing that I thought is important. That just don't keep learning as a metric, right? Different stages of implementation, your matrices will need to change, right? So this leading to the the fourth C, which is okay. You have done all this comprehensive check, and you are kind of continuously looking for data, doing all this user feedback. But what do? You need to act. How do you act? So here there are two things that I propose. One is communicate and collaborate, right? But again, this is a guideline. So communicate what? Okay, so on the left hand side, you see that there is usually in a tech in adoption process or in any implementation, they have this thumb rule: 10% early adopters, 70% medium. There are 20% who are laggards. I don't know. I'm not comfortable with the usage of laggards or disinterested people, right? So celebrate and communicate the early 10% adopters who then become the influencers for the 70%. So have a rewards and recognition program. Yeah, let the good news travel. This I've seen very well done by some of the consulting firms who work in the social and the development sector. Their ability to communicate the good news, find the good things that happen and communicate them to the internal stakeholders. Devise a communication strategy. That's very important. I think that's something that did not happen because I don't know, for whatever reasons, the communication strategy was not there. Keep it simple, clear, concise, appropriate, right? That's with respect to communicate. Now, when we go to collaborate, you would have to collaborate with internal and external projects. You will have to collaborate with external agencies, organizations, local authorities, education bodies, government bodies. But the question comes, why collaborate, Lakshmi? I understand you communicate, but why do you have to collaborate with someone external to the project? The internal project members, they know the project really well, no? Then why should we collaborate? So I thought I'll kind of ask this question, but let me just give away the answers, right? So in the large scale edtech project for the communication thing, what we did was we had a rewards and recognition program for the learners. So the more we see that they are improving, we rewarded them as a star child, as an enthusiast, edtech enthusiast, and kind of there were flyers in their school. We made videos about them. We kind of put it in our social media. So the students were really naturally motivated, and they motivated. Oh, I can see a child who's coming up like this. Let me also do that, right? So that was something that we did. And I remember mm, there was a kid with a learning challenge, and the kid was using the tech product because it kind of helped in repetition for the child. So the child was going on using it, and we saw the usage hit through the roof, and the child was awarded. The child was so happy. So when we went and you told, the child was so happy, and the mother had tears, and she said, "This is the first time I see my child being awarded," and that was one of the good days, like one of the many good days in the field when you work in the field, right? And then what he did with the teachers was they became master trainers. So that was a motivation for them. And they kind of trained the next bunch of teachers whom we onboarded. So that was like some interesting things for the learners. Next is, yeah, Lakshmi, you spoke about collaboration, but why do we have to collaborate with someone external? See, one thing in the social sector and development sector that is very key and I've learned is you can't solve the problem alone. You'll have to seek partners who have similar objectives as yours and kind of work with them. So one thing that really helped for us was that the government was keen on an EdTech program. So we collaborated with the local government, CRT. So they were kind of, very encouraging and telling the schools, and they used to come for visits, and they used to, when someone from the government body comes and visits your school, and so they are kind of motivated, right? So they become part of partners with you, and they also have a stake in your implementation. And the next thing that we did was we realized that in the same organization, there was another project that worked with the head teachers, specifically for improving the head teachers' leadership, right? So for a long time, we were not talking to them. But once suddenly a founder said, you both should collaborate. So what happened was they also started kind of whenever they went for their leadership program, they also started, talking about this edtech product implementation, and this gave another touch point for us. So they used to keep talking about, their engagement in the edtech implementation. So this in turn was like a waterfall. It led to the head teacher being that multiple touches, increased their engagement. Then they took actions for the teachers' engagement and the student engagement. So it kind of led to a very nice synergy of people in the same organization and also across the organization working together. I think it's very key. And I think many of my development sector and social sector people would agree and nod their head. Right? So with this, I think, taken an hour's time. So with this, I kind of, summarize what I think are some of the a key model, which is the 4C approach, and the five guidelines that I keep talking about throughout this with examples. So just wanted to summarize this, and I just wanted to check in, like the session objectives, for that they would be utilizing these guidelines for EdTech deployment. I'm sure you're going to be thinking about these guidelines, and they will create a seamless integration strategy based on the 4C. How do we do this, right? So just checking in, and I hope whatever I have proposed kind of, helps you achieve the session objectives. And these are some of the citations in the papers and the reports that I've read to that help me to come up with this 4C model, as well as the various guidelines and my own reflection. Yeah, I am done. So I'll pause it here. Over to you, Virju.
Okay, thank you, Lakshmi, for the wonderful session, and so thankful to hear um, the tech implementation. I know I didn't see any questions so far, but I have a question. So, do you have any other? I know in the presentation you mentioned about the Rogers, the implementation adoption model. So, is there any other model that you are aware of, or any particular reason to select that Rogers adoption model?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I was just debating today morning with one of another person whom I was bouncing this idea of. So he spoke about the IDA adoption model, in which if you just Google what is the IDA principle, it kind of AIDA, right? It kind of traces the customer journey through awareness, interest, desire, and action. Um, but I kind of like Rogers' model because it gives us those various points in which we can assign constructs and measure. Let's say, let me go back to that slide. Oh. So let's say awareness. So in awareness, you could add the construct, or you could add the output of attendance. Are the students or the teachers coming in for the sessions attendance? So in that you build their awareness, right? So coming to a session will not immediately get them to adopt, right? Then is there any interest that they're showing? What is their frequency levels? So I really like this because it gives me ways in which I can put in constructs or the output metrics that I want to assign. So that is AIDA. I don't know if there is an IDC, there is interest driven creation. There is one more model that I know of, which is used in the EdTech department. Yeah, I don't know of any other model, but what I really thought of is it's not the cognition which is the ultimate thing that you measure. There are various behavioral gates that need to be opened, or behavioral or in the language of EdTech research, it's also called as um, behavioral or attitudinal constructs that you would need to, or the gates that need to be opened for the adoption, right? So, yeah, that was my thought process.
Great. Thank you. And it was interesting to hear, many times when we look at, the metrics, we think the learning is the kind of the measurement of the adoption, but it was interesting to hear that there are different things going. And so what are your thoughts on the teacher itself, the primary, the teacher who, like whenever we introduce a new technology, they have a lot of concerns, right? They are not comfortable. Um, so then, we always look at the learning, but the teacher aspect. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the teacher is also a learner. Like in this case, we put the teacher here. We kind of see this model kind of gives you different points that you can measure, right? But I know that for teacher adoption also, there are various models. I know one that is it's called there are different levels, right? They substitute, adopt, and adapt. There is I forget the name of the model, but there is this model. Um, yeah, with respect to teacher, I think the teacher beliefs play an important role, right? What does the teacher believe in edtech? That plays an important role. So you would have to understand that first, and then provide cases where you kind of work with their beliefs, right? Work against or work with their beliefs. I think a lot of it is also interest um, driven. Yeah, but yes,
That
andragogy is much more difficult. So, yeah.
Wonderful. So we'll few wait for maybe 1 or 2 minutes. So is there any comments? Please post that in the chat so we can, um, get some answers from Lakshmi and um, don't see any comments so far. Okay. So wonderful, and thank you again for all of you joined the session, and those who registered, and you will be receiving a kind of a set of questions to answer if you really want to get a certificate. So you have to complete that quiz, so then you will get the certification. And so we are also having another masterclass that's coming up, and so we would like to hear your feedback as well. So please share with us your feedback on the different master classes. And thank you again for joining today's master class on EdTech Implementation 101. And thank you, Lakshmi, for the time taking to share your expertise on the implementation of educational technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Birju. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
thank you. Okay.